No, it can't get above sold weight. Some of it is structural in the business that is having some headwinds right now. But the other part of it is obviously a high interest rate environment. It's tough for growth stocks right now. E-commerce slowdown, which was part of the winning strategy for them in 2021. So a lot going on. But I think, for people, I wouldn't be ditching this stock. We're still holding. I'm still holding. I think when you look at it now, some of the story is that it's now 18 times forward earnings. So it's much lower than around 30 times it was trading in December of 2019. So that's good news. I think Venmo picks up traction. They have a strong brand in this fintech space. I think that bodes well for them down the line, even though they're slowing down. There's no way to deny that the growth rate slowing down. Yeah. That's something that investors has to be worryful of going forward.
Yeah, Kate, what do people say about PayPal? Like, what's its biggest problem?
So one of the themes has been sort of these unforced errors by PayPal. They have a great product. They've got some good brand loyalty. But they have historically, at least in the last couple of years, either set the targets too high, missed their own internal targets. And some of the things have been described as unforced errors. And it's been spending. Wall Street right now wants to see more cost discipline out of names like PayPal. And you really have seen that. It's actually outperformed some of its fintech peers and the other names reporting today, likely because of that Elliott involvement, the idea that there is now an activist investor that's going to hold this company accountable. But they've also had some big executive changes. CFO left for Walmart. So it's now a show me story, as a lot of analysts are describing it.
All right. Next up is Block, the company formerly known as Square, facing really kind of similar troubles. That stock down by 66%. I guess the singer Huey Lewis was wrong. Kate, it's not hip to be Square, and it's certainly not hip to be this stock either. Is this kind of a show me story like a PayPal?
It is, and interesting. We were just talking about Venmo, so they've got this big Venmo competitor, the Cash App. It tends to cater to a bit of a lower income consumer. That has been one of the worries around Square, is that now, after stimulus checks have ended, they are now way more exposed than a PayPal, for example, to what's going on in the lower end consumers. That'll be a big line item to watch. They also do payday lending, which, again, talk about some of the riskier sides of lending. Got to keep an eye on that. The seller business is more of the payments hardware. You think of when you walk into a coffee shop and you're using Square, again, could give us a bit of a sense of what's going on in the macro environment and the broader economy. And then again, payments volume. Crypto used to be a big thing we talked about with Block, not looking like a big revenue boost this quarter compared to at least last year.
Yeah, non-profitable companies, Delano, have not done well, as we know. I mean, is there any reason to own this company, not on the business, but on the idea that at some point maybe they get cheap enough that they get bought? I mean, I wonder if there's that put, that Visa or MasterCard or PayPal put that should be on this name. I don't know.
Yeah, certainly that could be an option. And I think one of the main reasons why a larger company would want to purchase Block would be the primary growth driver, Cash App, that Kate was mentioning. I think that's one area that they're looking to continue to grow. Obviously, the macro environment doesn't bode well for this stock, and it's something that we've been holding, and it's obviously trading down over 60% year to date, and 60% on the year. And if you look at it, over 70% of their revenues was kind of that BTC transactional run in 2021. And with that gone, and with them guiding towards a lower amount of retail trading and transaction on the cryptocurrency side, that doesn't bode well. But it does possibly make it more attractive for a larger company. And so those are reasons why we're holding, and we think structurally there could be more growth in the future for this company.
I could see from my giant monitor that, Kate Rooney, you were itching to get in there. What's a comment? Give us another comment on Block/Square.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that put. That has actually been what a lot of analysts describe as sort of a bottom for fintechs, especially Robinhood, where there's been a lot of M&A rumors there. But the idea that it's interesting, Square has all of these different sort of competing businesses, or Block at this point, and that's sort of why they did the name change. They hopefully, I mean, you could see a world where they are diversified enough at this point where they're able to weather some things like a trading and crypto slowdown if they're able to grow deposits and focus on sort of the small business side. Yeah. So that's one of the questions going forward. Are they diversified enough to stand on their own? And then not to mention buy now, pay later. They're also really exposed to this lending space as well.
But just kind of to me, it was an odd name change because now I always think about H&R Block, the tax filing company. But I'm like 120 years old, so that's what I do. Kate, talk to us about Coinbase. What's the setup there on Coinbase?
Last but not least, Coinbase. So interest income, I know we talked about this around Robinhood a little bit, and rising rates helping to sort of offset some of the trading slowdown. We will likely see a similar dynamic with Coinbase. Interest income is going to become a lot more important, and the question is, will that offset some of the slowdown we've seen in crypto? They're also trying to manage to this $500 million loss target. They've said that is the ceiling. There is optimism that they could change that. That target could move and improve a little bit, so that would be one big thing to watch and what Wall Street's watching. And then revenue diversification, anything away from just that core trading fee business, subscriptions and services would be the line item to watch there.
I just wonder, Delano, if Coinbase or anybody else in that space can do anything until crypto takes off again. I mean, assuming it does, it may not, but if it does, right, unless Bitcoin or Ether, Ripple, they start surging again, it seems to be tied to that. The stock is tied to the coins.
Yes, it is tied to trading activity. It's tied to, massive market, whether it's bull or bear markets, and getting that trading activity. And so, as Kate was mentioning, the different diversification of the business is going to be important. Having, transactions where, customers can use wallets and different services they can provide will be important for them. I think it's very, very, dire times right now, and as far as you look at the retail trade in the market and their declining growth. But I think, I'm still bullish long term on the ecosystem and on cryptocurrency long term. I think this Coinbase is going to have a little bit of struggle when it comes to, finding those different services that will work and be a tailwind for the business going forward. So that's kind of why you have to be cautious in this certain time for a company like Coin.